We are back for another episode of Sports Talk on Elm Street. Hello, everyone. Joe Elms, Quinn Richards.
That's me.
Yeah. Bringing out the... I brought out the sunglasses.
You did bring out the sunglasses.
I'm honestly, not sure if I'm... permitted to do this,
and we won't lie. We had a discussion before we started about me also wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, we did.
It was officially Joe's idea first. I didn't want to steal his thing, so maybe next week we'll switch off. But we don't,
maybe so.
It depends.
Yeah. But that's what we've got going right now. But the other thing we got going right now is we're going to talk some sports because that's kind of what we do.
It is what we do.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest stories in the sports world right now, Quinn, is the MLB playoffs. We're now into the divisional series. What is the plural of series?
Series.
Series?
I believe so.
Divisional series?
Yeah. I can look it up.
Yeah, let's take time out of our... Yeah, let's do that. Anyway, we haven't talked virtually... we have not talked virtually at all about Major League Baseball on the show, at least so far this year. We did, I think, a little bit last year.
No, we really haven't. And I mean, honestly, towards the end of the season, there were some teams, but it's it becomes like the playoffs of 2 or 3 teams that are on the fringe. Like the Cubs and stuff is interesting, but the rest of the playoffs have already been settled.
The whole race for the final wildcard spot in the NL that was cool. But the AL, that was practically decided with a month left to go.
So we didn't really have much to talk about in terms of that stuff. But I'm glad that now we can talk about some baseball finally.
Yeah, let's go. Do a little preview into the ALDS and the NLDS. First off, the action starts on this upcoming tomorrow. Oh, wow. Tomorrow. I was going to say this upcoming, and then I was like, wait a second. Today's Friday.
Yeah, I know.
So tomorrow, Saturday, October 7th, first game is going to be the Texas Rangers facing off against the top-seeded Baltimore Orioles. And the Orioles, man, I mean... What is there to say about them that hasn't already been said? I mean, one of the most dramatic, remarkable turnarounds. 2 years ago, they lost 110 games. Think about how crazy that is and how crazy it is that they've managed to embark on such a dramatic turnaround. How crazy is that? They have so much young talent, and it's just all throughout the lineup. They can hit, they can field, they make plays offensively and defensively, and guys of course, I think the big story is, of course, Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. They're just pitting bombs all over the place.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this team is, I don't know. In my opinion, I am somewhat hesitant to fully invest in this team because they are so young and they don't have a lot of playoff experience. Mm-hmm. They have, I feel like their stars, they have virtually no playoff experience.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's very true. They don't have much going for them in there, but what they do have going for them is that they put up the best record in the American League.
Yeah.
And this is a team that's dangerous.
This
is a team
that's
very dangerous.
I'm not taking away from them. I'm not saying they're not dangerous because they are. You cannot argue with 101 wins, I believe.
101, yeah.
Yeah, 101 wins. You can't argue with that. However, I have this team pegged on upset alert against the Rangers, and no, it's not just because I'm a Rangers fan. I would love it if the Rangers won, obviously, but I think the Rangers, they had a really roller coaster season. They looked like, frankly, one of the best teams in baseball, maybe the best team in the AL for about half the season.
Yeah.
And then right after the All-Star break, they just came out so flat and went. They at one point they went over those 20 games. They went. It was 4-16 at some point, and there were skids, several skids.
They've been very
prolonged
streaky.
Skids.
They've been very, very streaky. Because as you mentioned, out of that All-Star break, they were shaky to say the least.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, they had a 10-game win streak, I believe, or an 11-game win streak.
That they managed to kind of regain themselves, and that they eventually got into a wild card spot. And frankly, they could have very well won the division up until the very last day. Of course, the Texas losing to the Mariners is what prevented them from winning. They lost 1-0 on the final day of the season, and that allowed the Astros to take the AL West again. Yeah. We'll get to the Astros in a second.
Yeah.
But I think the Rangers have a legit shot to upset the top seed in the AL.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. They have the Rangers, like the Orioles, have a ton of offense. Marcus Semien, Corey Seager are obviously the headline.
Garcia.
And Adolis Garcia are, I think, Semien and Seager are the headliners. Garcia throwing that mix as well. They also have a ton of young talent. Like, look at the rookie season Josh Young is having.
Yeah,
he's been absolutely fantastic. And I didn't think he'd be this good this fast. Same goes for recently called up Evan Carter, who looked phenomenal against the Rays in the wild card rounds. Mm-hmm. The sky's the limit for him, and of course the Rangers' weakness here is their bullpen. Their bullpen has been pretty bad over the second half of the season.
To say the least,
to say the least, they've been pretty bad. But I mean, if the Rangers want to make this happen, it's obviously going to be spearheaded by their offense.
Yeah.
And I think pitching, I'm concerned because of A, the bullpen, and B, all the injuries. DeGrom, Scherzer are both out, and those are two of their best pitchers. They traded for Scherzer for, frankly, this very reason, this very situation that they find themselves in. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's going to be, for Texas, it is going to be a challenge for them, to say the least, to try and to pitch effectively, to pitch well against this high-powered Baltimore lineup.
Yeah, and I think the key in this series for the Rangers is going to be getting quality starts. Because I think if you can keep the bullpen out of the game, basically, just avoid trying to use your bullpen.
Just like, you guys can
stay in the bullpen, stay in the outfield over there. Yeah, because if the Rangers can consistently put out quality starts and hold the Orioles to, let's say, 3 runs, like under 3 runs up to the 7th inning and stuff, then I think that the Rangers offense, the way they've been playing recently, will be able to get enough runs to win games and ultimately win the series.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to be relying heavily on guys like John Gray, Dane Dunning, and I think that they are they and the rest of the starters that they currently have on hand are more than capable of coming through and getting quality starts. But it's going to be, I think this may be their biggest challenge all season in terms of just a straight up pitching versus hitting perspective.
For sure.
Just because of how much power, how much pop this Oriole lineup has. It's like, I mean, it's gonna be a big challenge. But I think, like you said, if they can get some quality starts out of their starting pitchers, then I think they're more than capable of pulling it off. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting. So that one starts at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Right smack dab in the middle of college football, which we will get to in a little bit.
Good day for sports right there.
Yeah, fantastic day for sports. I agree. The second game I'm looking at right here at 4:45 tomorrow, Minnesota at Houston, the Twins and the Astros. And the Twins, of course, everyone knows, finally snapping that 18-game long postseason losing streak
dating back to 2004. So
think about that.
I was born technically. I was a month old the last time the Twins won a playoff game.
So like let's say this is taking place in what?
October of 2004.
I was like a year and 3 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about that. Think about how long that's been and how much time has passed in between that win and what we saw
2 days ago?
Yeah, against
2 days ago with the final win
against Toronto. Yeah. But man, the Twins, I think the Twins are the kind of the underdog here. Of course, their season was they basically won the AL Central by default
because
the rest of the division was garbage.
Oh, you're telling me.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about your Tigers.
Yeah.
But they but the Twins were, I mean, it's, you can't deny the Twins were the best team in that division. I think they were last year, and I think they are now, even though they didn't win it last year. Mm-hmm. I think that they have been the best team in that division for the last few years, and it showed. I think it showed, and they take it just because everyone else was terrible. And they managed to beat the Blue Jays, which I will admit I did not think that was going to happen because I didn't think the Twins were really that good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because just like, I mean, they were easily the easily the worst division winner. I mean, duh.
In terms of record and in terms of
record, and I think I was expecting them to be beaten by Toronto, but I was wrong. I was very wrong. And for the Blue Jays, I mean, when are we ever going to see them play up to their full potential? Because it feels like never at this point. It's very frustrating right now to be a Blue Jays fan, just because all the stuff their players and their fans have been saying, and it's just not. It never comes to fruition. It's very frustrating. Like last year, they lost to the Mariners.
Yeah,
and then now this year, this happens. But I think the Twins, if you want to root for the underdog in these playoffs, the Twins are your team. The Twins are your team to root for. I think so. They're going up against the Astros, and all the old narratives about the Astros have been just like rehashed. So I'm not gonna go down that road. I'm just gonna take a look at the team as it stands right now in this moment in time. They have had a very roller coaster season. Very roller coaster season. Almost didn't win the division like we alluded to. They've got Justin Verlander. He had a fantastic season last year. He hasn't had quite that same success this year, but he's still playing well. I think he's still playing well. They've got a lot of injuries on both sides, batting and pitching. I mean, Jose Altuve was out for a good chunk of the year. Michael Brantley was out for a good chunk of the year. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like Yordan Alvarez was like the only guy who could consistently stay healthy in that lineup.
For real.
So, of course, and the injuries are still affecting them now. I think the Twins, they really need to take advantage because they've got more than enough. They've got more than enough power in their lineup, and I think their starting pitching might be like the best in the majors. They've got enough to compete with Houston. The thing they need to do if they want to have a chance to pull off this upset, a legitimate shot, is that they need to take advantage of the injuries to Houston's lineup, and that starting pitching really needs to come through big time.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. I mean, when you have one of the best starting rotations in terms of consistency with five guys who can consistently, I think all five of their players have an under 4 ERA.
Yeah, which is insane.
So if you have that rotation, I mean, you need to take full advantage of that. And I mean, it's easy to just go out here and say that you need to have good starts to win baseball games because obviously you do. And it's the same for the Rangers and it's the same here for the Twins. If they want to come out here and shut down this Astros team, the main thing you need to do is shut down the offense because the Astros, I mean, the reason they are consistently in the playoffs, the reason they are consistently winning games in the playoffs is because they can put up runs and they can put up a lot of runs.
Yeah, they can put up a lot of runs. That offense is still as dynamic. Despite all of the injuries, that there is no denying that offense is still dynamic and it's still a force to be reckoned with.
And I think one interesting thing here is I know you mentioned for the Orioles that you're worried about experience. I mean, the Twins hardly have any playoff experience. The only playoff experience they've had up to this year was losing.
Yeah.
So a lot of those players do not have much experience playing in these high situation games. Obviously, they have players like Carlos Correa who have come over who have plenty of playoff
have that. And
experience.
It's going to be interesting to see Correa going up against his old team.
For sure.
That's probably like one of the biggest storylines going into this series.
There's a lot of players on these rosters, on both rosters, who've played for like Astros players who have played for the Twins and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting. And I always like to see how that comes into effect when they're playing the away games because they're used to those stadiums. So it's not like
for sure.
So, I mean, it's going to be a good game. That should be exciting to watch for sure. And I'm going to be rooting for the Twins because I like a good underdog story.
Me too. Yeah. And I think you know how I feel about the Astros. But yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see how that one shakes out. That should be a good series. I'm looking forward to watching that. Anyway, let's flip over to the NL side real quick. We got the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the top-seeded Atlanta Braves. And, I mean, this Braves offense is like a freaking buzzsaw. this is how I'd put it. It's one of the best offenses I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which is, I know that's like, that may be a bit of a hot take, but or a crazy thing to say, because we've seen a ton of historically great offenses, but this Braves offense is a freaking machine.
It's crazy.
And the Phillies are going to be hard pressed to stop it. The one weakness I think for Atlanta is kind of the backside of their bullpen. I think if Philadelphia can, because Philly has a ton of power in their lineup, guys like Schwarber, Harper, Real Muto. Those are just a few names. Bryson Stott's getting his name up there because he had that momentum changing grand slam in game 2. That would help Philly sweep the Marlins. But this Braves team, they are not the Marlins. No offense to the Marlins, because the Marlins they're a good team, I think. They are not the Braves. They are not the Braves.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Phillies are going to be more than hard pressed to stop this absolutely electric offense.
To put it in perspective, the Braves have 7 players that would be the best hitter on the Detroit Tigers.
I mean, 7 players. Think about that. And I mean, the Tigers are like, they're not. I don't really know.
They're not great, but they're not the worst team in baseball.
But they're not horrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, 7 players. That just goes to show how incredibly dynamic this Braves offense is. It's going to be. I mean, the Phillies starting pitchers, the Phillies pitchers in general, honestly, they're going to be. This is going to be easily, far and away, the toughest series of the season.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think there's any arguing.
This is, I think, the series to watch in the divisional playoffs. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a better series than this, because I mean, both of these teams are just electric, fun to watch, great offenses. I mean, this is going to be the game that if I tune into any game, this is going to be the game to tune into. You know what I mean?
In my opinion, I think the Braves, you'll agree, I think the Braves have the edge in both but it's not by much. I don't think. If there was one team, because I don't really think, looking at the rest of the bracket, I don't think a team like the Brewers or the Diamondbacks or the Marlins would put up a fight against this Braves. It would be maybe a 4 or 5 game series. I think the Phillies might be the one team that is the scariest for Atlanta. I think. Maybe the Dodgers. Maybe. But I think the Phillies are. I think they are better equipped to put up more of. I don't want to say put up more of a fight, 'cause then be like, oh, I'm just thinking the Braves are going to win, and I think the Braves are going to win, but I think Philly is the one team that is the best equipped to hang with them.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that one's going down at that's 6:00 p.m. Eastern time on TBS. And the final game of the NLDS is, as we kind of alluded to, the Diamondbacks at the Dodgers. And for the Diamondbacks, they are the team that finally got their hands on the coveted, or maybe should I say not coveted, because it seemed like nobody wanted it, the maybe not coveted final wildcard spot in the NL, and they took full advantage. I mean, they just, in their, I did not think they would beat the Brewers. I think the Brewers were, I thought they were a team to watch as possibly going on a deep playoff run. A team, of course, not named the Braves, the Dodgers, whatever. And I mean, Arizona just went in and completely just kick their butts.
Yeah,
I mean, and the Braves, the Brewers looked just outclassed.
And in both games, the Brewers choked a lead.
Yeah,
in both games, the Brewers had the lead, and then the Diamondbacks came back, which, that's a good sign for the Diamondbacks.
A team absolutely.
That has not been in the playoffs for a long time. They were not
expected to do practically anything.
None of
this
that.
Season.
And here they are against the Dodgers, and that's what I like to see. I mean, playing in a hostile environment, right? Both of those games were in Milwaukee. Now you're going to play the Dodgers. If I'm a Brewers fan, a Diamondbacks fan, then I have high hopes, because if my team gets down, I'm not too worried anymore because they've shown that they can come out in a hostile environment and still win those games.
Oh yeah, for sure. But taking a look at these teams, the Diamondbacks, kind of sort of similar to the Orioles, are filled with a ton of young talent, but with that being said, they don't have frankly any playoff experience. Or if they do, they have very little. Frankly, I think their best player is a rookie outfielder, Corbin Carroll, and he is, of course, a rookie, and this is his first taste of playoff baseball. Of course, this team it's not like all or nothing. It doesn't like ride or die with him. They've got lots of talent strewn across the board in the lineup and in the arms. But I think the Dodgers are better. They're more experienced. They're tougher. They're more consistent. The Diamondbacks' time is coming, and it will be their time soon. But I don't think it's their time now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think Arizona goes down to the Dodgers in this series.
Are they swept?
No, they are not swept. They lose in 5.
Oh wow! So it comes down to the wire.
Well,
because it's a 5-game series.
Let me think. Let me think about this.
So they lose in 4. It's a 5-game series.
Yeah. I don't know why I said. I think I said that it was 7 games.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's 5 games. I think Dodgers win in 4.
Okay.
3-1.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction.
Those are our baseball predictions.
Yeah, those are our baseball. I think I'm going to say, just like really quick before we move on, I'm just going to say I think it goes. I'm going to take the Rangers in 5 over the Orioles.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Braves also in 5 over the Phillies. It'll come down to the wire. I took the Dodgers over the Diamondbacks, and then I'm going to take the Astros in 4 over the Twins.
Okay.
So that's my
it's a good playoff prediction.
Those are my thoughts.
I'm going to second that. I mean, I think that the Braves could
like all of them.
I'm going to second all of them. I think. Wait, did you take the Rangers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going against you then.
Wow.
I think the Orioles will beat the Rangers.
Okay. I see how it is.
I also have liked watching the Orioles, so maybe I'm a little biased there. But
yeah,
I think the Orioles
they're a really fun team to watch.
I think the Orioles will win, and I don't even think it's going to come down to the 5th game. And then I think the Braves might sweep the Phillies.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see who's correct.
That's the beauty of the beauty of Major League Baseball.
It is,
and the beauty of October. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we mean that for more than one sport.
True.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the college football slates for this upcoming weekend, as well as maybe a little bit of reactions from last weekend, perhaps.
We could do that.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of that. Let's take a look at the week. Let's take a look at the week ahead first. Excuse me. Of course, the headliner, I think, and I believe, I'm not completely certain on this. I think this is where game day is this weekend. I think it's at the Cotton Bowl for the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas.
Possibly, I believe. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's easily the best game of the weekend. And so, of course, for Texas, Texas has looked great. I will admit they didn't look. I don't know if they looked maybe quite as good as I thought they would against Kansas, but they still put up 40 points. So,
yeah,
there's not really a whole lot of cause for concern, especially Quinn Ewers. He looked. I think for the most part, he looked good. He made plays with his arms, with his legs, but I think he missed on some throws that he normally makes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It happens. It happens. I'm not. If I'm a Longhorn fan, I'm not worried at all. I'm still happy, undefeated, number 3 in the country, but this is easily their biggest test so far. Technically it's a neutral site game because it's at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. I
don't know if that's really that neutral.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and guess that there are going to be a lot more Longhorn fans there than Sooner fans. I think there's going to be a good number of Sooner fans who are going to make the drive down, but I think there will be more Longhorn fans than Sooner fans is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, the Longhorns are tied with Oklahoma at the top of the Big 12, both 5-0, undefeated in conference play. undefeated in general. This is a tough one for me because I really like both of these teams. I think they have the potential I think they have college football playoff potential, both of them. I know Oklahoma's only 12th in the country. I think they are more than capable of making a run, but if they are serious, it starts with this game right here.
Yeah, for sure.
It starts with this game right here. If you're Oklahoma, you got to come out and you got to win this game if you want people to take you seriously as a college football playoff contender. Quinn, what are your keys to this game for both teams? If you're Oklahoma, what are your keys to winning? And if you're Texas, what are your keys to winning?
If I'm Oklahoma, the key is Dylan Gabriel and his play.
Yeah.
I want to see how Dylan Gabriel is going to play against a team like Texas. Looking at this Oklahoma schedule, they haven't really faced
they haven't had a lot of competition.
They haven't had a lot of competition. The level of Texas, and when they play this, I think probably their best opponent, you would say, has been Cincinnati, who up until this year was not even a Power 5 team.
And not to keep in mind, Oklahoma only won they put up only 20 points.
That's what
honestly, the winning was not a sure thing until late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that game was close. So in Oklahoma's, I guess, only real test. I mean, Iowa State is not really a powerhouse.
Really.
So
Iowa State's 2-3 right now.
So Oklahoma didn't look great in that game, and I think that's why they're sitting at number 12 right now. So they can definitely prove a point against Texas, and I think if they beat Texas, they jump not only to the top 10, but I would say the top 8.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a huge game for both teams. Texas really needs to solidify themselves because they did beat Alabama, and that's been the main thing on their schedule, and I guess beating Kansas. But Alabama might not be the same team they were in years past. So we don't really know just how impressive that win is yet. And so I think this game will tell you who's going to win the Big 12. I think the winner of this game wins the Big 12. I don't know if it's that crazy to say, but
I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terribly crazy.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see how Oklahoma's offense, this powerhouse offense, which has been a powerhouse all year, performs against a Texas defense.
Yeah. And I'll just, I think, go here because I know you want to talk about this. I want to take a look at the Maryland-Ohio State game for just a second.
Yeah.
That one will be on at 12 p.m. on Fox. And I want to get your take on this because Maryland, of course, you remember what they did last week. They thrashed Indiana, and Talia Tagovailoa looked fantastic. Their quarterback, the brother of Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. And for Ohio State, I mean, the whole thing is that the rest of the offense has been even though they're undefeated, the offense has been inconsistent. I think Kyle McCord is still trying to just like feel himself out, feel the offense out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think this could be Maryland's. Listen, they're undefeated. They're 5-0. This could be this. I mean, outside of Notre Dame, this may be Ohio State. I think it is. I think it's their biggest test so far this year.
Yeah.
It's their second Big Ten game, which is kind of crazy. Only their second Big Ten game. We're about to be what? 5? We're 5 weeks in.
Yeah.
Or they're 4. They're 4-0. Yeah, they're 4-0. This is week 6. We are 5 weeks in. We're about to be 6 weeks in. But what are you looking for from Ohio State in order to get a win at home, one that I think you really need in order to stay in the college football playoff conversation, and B, how do you slow down this high-powered Maryland offense?
I don't think the issue is necessarily going to be winning the game. What I do want to see is Kyle McCord making consistent passes and being confident with his passes.
I think that's what every Ohio State fan wants to see.
Ohio State fan wants to see
in all the games from now on.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been looking because as an Ohio State fan, I've obviously watched a ton of Ohio State games. Yeah. Ohio State has always had Maryland's number, and yes, Maryland it wasn't a great team when they first joined the Big Ten, but since joining the Big Ten, Maryland is 0-8 against Ohio State. Ohio State, the lowest points they've dropped is 43. Here are the offensive points Ohio State has dropped since playing Maryland since they've come in. The first year, 52 points, 49, 62, 62, 52, 73,
Oh my.
66, and 43.
Oh.
This Maryland defense
Oh.
has never been able to stop Ohio State's offense. Never. So I think that trend continues. It's hard for me to say that it won't. And I think what it comes down to is Ohio State in the line, the front lines of both teams, so the offensive and defensive line. Ohio State always is dominating that. And I think the reason Talia is not going to have success like he has had all year is going to be because he's going to be facing constant pressure and he's going to probably get sacked 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That is, I don't know, man. I think that's pretty bold. I think Maryland puts up. I think they hang with Ohio State throughout the majority of the game.
Okay.
And they looked, I get it, they were playing Indiana, and Indiana is not a football powerhouse. But, man, Maryland just looked completely dominant, and I think they are more than capable of hanging with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it is in Columbus, and that environment is going to be absolutely rocking, like it always is. But I don't know, man. I think the Terps, watch out. I think the Buckeyes are on upset alert. Mm-hmm. They're on upset, maybe not alert, upset watch. They're on upset watch. How about that?
I will politely agree to disagree.
Okay.
Based off past experience, which maybe is dangerous to do.
We gotta you gotta take that into account, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's also like, who's to say that's like how there is a possibility that could also change, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it could. But it definitely could. Not this week. No, I'm kidding.
But I think Ohio State's on upset watch. I think Maryland's hangs with them for, I'm gonna say the whole game. I think Maryland hangs with them the whole game. They go tit for tat.
Okay.
Do you want to do our new little segment, Thorns and Roses?
Yeah, we'll do a little Thorns and Roses.
Is it Thorns and Roses or Roses and Thorns?
I think Rose.
What sounds better? Because we're experimenting with this.
I think Thorns and Roses sounds too much like Guns and Roses, so let's go Roses and Thorns.
We'll do Roses and Thorns. So the way this...
You want
to explain it?
I can explain it.
You go.
All right, so I was watching some college football this past weekend.
Yeah.
I don't remember what game it was. It was Colorado USC is what it was. And if anyone watched that game, USC was dominant, but their defense just kept letting Colorado score and kept Colorado in the game. And I was like, dang, I mean, USC's offense is so good, but their defense is a big question mark,
I think the defense is what's keeping them from the serious college football playoff conversation. But
you could say it's the thorn in their side, you know?
See what we did there? See what we did there?
So, what I hashed is this little segment called Roses and Thorns.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at, we want to do top 5. We can do top 10.
The top 10 teams.
We'll do the top 10 teams. And we're going to say what one rose is. And by rose, we mean what's the thing that's the reason they're ranked this high, right? What is their driving force? And then one thorn. So what is their weakness, basically? So it's basically like the strengths and weaknesses for the top 10 teams.
Yeah.
For the sake of time, we'll do the top 10.
Yeah.
And then I think what we can do is we'll switch off. So like I do a rose, you do a thorn, then you do a rose and I do a thorn.
Okay.
If that makes sense, because I think a lot of our
we're kind of learning this as we go.
Yeah, we are. This is a new segment. We're trying it out.
This is the first time we're doing this.
We think it'll be fun, but let's start with Georgia, the big dog. You want to go first for your rose, or you want to do a thorn here?
I'll start with a rose.
Okay, you start with the rose.
I'll start with a rose. So I think for Georgia, obviously this team is not what they were last year. I think the rose is the play of tight end Brock Bowers.
Yep.
I think that's the rose. He has been the best player on. I don't think Georgia's been the best team in the country. I know they've been ranked number 1 for the whole season so far, and I think as long as they don't lose, I think they're going to keep that spot. But Brock Bowers has been a tremendous help to new starting quarterback Carson Beck, and he's been the best. I think he's been the best tight end in the country. No questions asked. So he's their rose for me.
My thorn for Georgia, I'll do the thorn here for Georgia, is going to be starting the game. Because Georgia consistently has horrid starts to their games.
It's nothing like the dominance we saw over the past couple years.
Yeah, it's not like we see, because in the years past, you turn on a game and it's 21-0. You're like, oh well, Georgia's already won this in the first quarter. Georgia has been keeping teams in games throughout the first half, and it's not against super great teams. Auburn was a good team.
Yeah,
I won't
Auburn's
lie.
good.
South Carolina and UAB, those were still games going into the third quarter.
Look at UAB. UAB is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, UAB is a perfect example of that. Georgia should not have had that game close in
Georgia
the
should have
first
won
half.
by at least 3 scores, I think. Maybe even more than that.
Yeah,
frankly.
and they should have had that locked up in the first half. The issue is Georgia they can't start games well. They're having a lot of inconsistency starting the game. And if this keeps happening, it's only a matter of time before a team puts up a good second half and beats Georgia.
So that's your thorn.
That's my thorn. All right, let's move on to the number 2 ranked team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan.
I will start with the Rose.
Go.
The Rose, and I know this is crazy coming from me who has trashed this man time and time again. J.J. McCarthy.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. We were
It was the Nebraska game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Nebraska game.
It was
This
that.
is one of our predictions where we were horribly wrong.
We were just so completely.
We thought it was going to be a close
wrong.
game. J.J. McCarthy went out there and looked like a Heisman winner.
He looked incredible.
Heisman winner. He was fantastic in that play. I mean, if you look at the statistics, it doesn't really show. It says 12 for 16, 156 yards, which isn't like a phenomenal performance. But J.J. McCarthy was doing everything he needed to do to win.
Didn't he throw like 3 touchdowns?
He threw 2 touchdowns. And it was just he looked great.
It goes beyond the stats too. He was making plays.
He was making
everywhere.
plays, and they were tough plays that he was making, and he was still consistently making them.
Yeah,
and
I was very impressed with a lot of his throws. I watched most of that game, and I was very impressed with some of his throws.
It showed me that J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy can be the guy that takes Michigan to the playoffs and maybe to a national championship.
I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think there was ever any argument on that. I think he's a good quarterback. I think the question was, can he be the guy? Can he be the guy to lead Michigan to these heights?
And my goodness, he looked like the guy.
Yeah, he looks like the guy today, man.
Now though, what is Michigan's thorn, Joe? Tell me.
Oh man. Okay. This is tough because I can't say the defense because they've looked there. I think they're the best part of that team.
Yeah.
They're the best part of that team.
The most points they've given up all season is 7.
I can't say the running backs because Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are possibly the best 1-2 punch in the nation. Oh man, this is tough.
Is Michigan a no thorn team? Is that what you're telling me?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if there are any. I don't know if they have enough flaws, Like the only thing I can maybe reasonably assume is maybe the wide receiver position.
Maybe.
But even then,
I have
that's not they're not flawed.
I have one
they're
thing.
still talent.
I have one thing, but it's not necessarily a thorn for Michigan. It's more so something that I think could hold them back. Is the strength of schedule.
Yeah,
because they don't really have a test. If you look at their schedule,
we could do that as our thorn. Their strength of schedule. It's
East
not
Carolina,
like a team thing.
East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers to start the season. Then they go on the road, Nebraska, Minnesota. Then they
that game against Minnesota, that could be something because it'll be in Minneapolis. And Minnesota, I think, is better than their record.
Yeah, but what Michigan has to do is if you look at the last 3 games of the season, they travel to Penn State. And it's not going to be a night game, so I don't know if that's going to be a whiteout, but that'll still be a crazy environment.
It'll still be insane.
They go at Maryland, who, as you're high on Maryland, and Maryland has looked good this year. And then they finish the year taking on Ohio State in Ann Arbor. That is a tough 3 games to close that year, and they have nothing close to that amount of difficult opponents at any other point in this season.
Yeah, no way.
So,
if they want to prove that they are I think if they have I think they'll have an opportunity to prove, assuming they don't lose or anything, before that stretch. If they will, I think, have an opportunity to prove that they are the best team in the country.
Yeah.
If they do well in that slate, they will prove as such. So I guess strength of schedule, that can be our thorn for Michigan.
All right, Texas. I will be doing the Rose now for Texas.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it biased if I just say Quinn Ewers because his name is Quinn?
I don't know is the short answer to that question.
You don't know if that's biased.
I'm going to say maybe just because if you're basing it off the name, yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing, is I'm not basing it off the name. I'm basing it off of the fact that Quinn Ewers has looked fantastic all year.
No, he's looked great, and I agree.
I'm basing it off 1,358 passing yards, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. Yeah, I think it's Quinn Ewers. He's looked very, very good, and Texas has had quarterbacks in the past, bringing up guys like Colt McCoy. I don't know if Sam Ellinger.
Colt McCoy.
Sam Ellinger didn't look
I'm
terrible
Colt
when
McCoy,
he was there.
and I'm still the most popular quarterback in Texas.
But Quinn Ewers has looked very, very good, and I think
He's looked great.
Texas fans for sure are pleased with their quarterback play, and I think Quinn Ewers is the driving force behind this team, and I'm excited to see how this Texas offense performs against Oklahoma.
Dare I say Texas is
Back. They're back.
they very well look like they're back.
How about their thorn, Joe? What is their thorn?
Okay. Man, again, this is tricky because they've looked so good. I mean, Quinn Ewers has been great. The wide receiver room has been great. The rushing attack has been great. I guess maybe if I had to say something, it would be I'm not even sure this is a thorn. They're a very well-rounded team. Maybe I'm going to say the back end of the defense, it hasn't looked quite as good as the front of the defense has. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think they are somewhat susceptible to giving up big plays. Granted, it hasn't happened a ton, but I think the Kansas game, I'm gonna back this up with this. I think in the Kansas game, if Jalen Daniels had been playing, I think Kansas would have put up more than 14 points. And I think that game would have been a lot closer if Jalen Daniels was playing. Of course, Jalen Daniels is the dynamic Kansas quarterback who missed that game. They were forced to rely on Jason Bean, who played okay. But I'm going to say for their thorn, quote unquote, I'm not even sure if you can consider this a thorn. It's the back end of their defense. That's my vote.
The secondary?
Yeah, the secondary, and maybe to a lesser extent the linebackers.
And there were some big plays that they let up against Kansas. The last touchdown.
And Alabama, they let up.
And Alabama.
Because Milroe threw 2 long touchdowns.
True.
And I think that may be something to just kind of maybe keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I think against Oklahoma, that's going to be...
Yeah.
If that is in reality their thorn, it will be exploited for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going to be targeting.
Okay, so it's 11:20. Do you want to go just top 5?
We can do top 5.
We can just do top 5 for the sake of time.
Let's do Ohio State. Your rows for Ohio State.
Wow,
it's got nothing nice to say.
Yeah, sorry. The Kyle McCord's pass catching options.
Okay,
is my
receivers.
Is my rows the receivers? Not just the receivers. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Kate Stover, including him in that mix, and Emeka Mbuka. Did I say that right?
Emeka Mbuka.
Emeka Mbuka.
Egbuka.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Cool. So Kyle McCord's pass catching options are my rows. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. has not looked like the Heisman Trophy contending wide receiver that a lot of people thought he would be going into this year. I think that's mostly on McCord. No offense, Kyle McCord.
Yeah. But, and I guess opposing defenses putting 3 people on him.
Yes, that too. Putting 3 people on him. But still, he's going to go out there and he's going to produce. I think he bounces back. I think he has a big game against Maryland this weekend. Excuse me. I think he has a big game against Maryland this weekend, and I think he puts up. I'm going to say he puts up over 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns.
Okay,
how about that?
Yeah.
So I think keeping Harrison in mind, along with Mbuka, Stover, and the rest of the Ohio State pass catching core, that's their rows for me. What is your thorn? This is tough.
So your thorn was McCord's pass catching options.
My rose was
your rose rather.
My rose was McCord's
so my thorn is going to be McCord's pass throwing ability.
That is so tough. That is
so mean and rude.
That is such a tough scene.
But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's been the question mark for this Ohio State team the whole year.
And it still is.
And it still is. I'm not going to say like he didn't show that he has had potential to be that guy who can lead this team to the playoffs. But It's just inconsistent is the thing. It is just very, very inconsistent. And what every single Ohio State fan wants to see is consistency. Just show Kyle McCord, show us that you can consistently make the throws you need to make into tight windows to win games.
Yeah.
Because yes, you have great receivers, but those great receivers cannot do anything if you're throwing the ball over their head.
Yeah.
So
or if they have 3 guys on them, Marvin Harris Jr.
And,
of course, that's not really on McCord. I'm just kind of like saying.
And I think all it is taking is a very solid defensive performance from one of these Big Ten teams who can capitalize off of the mistakes McCord is making. And I think if he faces those teams at the point we are at right now, it is a matter of time before Ohio State has a 2 to 3 turnover game and loses in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Unless McCord can step it up and play consistent. Now, right now, the Ohio State defense is just powering Ohio State
Playing
through these
out
games.
of their
And
mind.
the receivers are giving McCord the options to kind of be bailed out. But I think a team like Penn State, possibly a team like Maryland, although I don't think it's going to happen, but you said it, you think it might.
I think it might.
I think all that's standing between Ohio State and a loss is McCord's turnovers. And I think it's a matter of time before those happen, and he can step it up in a big way. So that's the Thorn for Ohio State.
That's your Thorn. Okay.
Moving on for the last team in the top 5.
You take the Rose on this one.
Florida State. I'll do the Rose for Florida State. I'm going to say the Rose for Florida State. Ooh, I don't know if I want to say that, but I might.
What? Do it.
I'm going to say the Florida State schedule.
No, that is not what I thought you were going to say.
It's not trying to say like, oh, Florida State has played no one. It's that Florida State, I think, has gotten through the toughest part of their schedule, and they're only 4 games into the season.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That Clemson game, of course.
The Clemson game, of course, is what's standing out to me. I don't think Duke is going to prove that much of a opponent for them, especially because they have Duke at home.
Yeah.
The one that stands out to me is Miami. I think Miami could be a better team than people are giving them credit for.
They're going to be a better team than they were last year.
I think Miami might slowly be rising up to the top 10 in the polls.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think Miami is the game you're circling. Miami is going to have a tough stretch here coming up, and they play Georgia Tech, which shouldn't be too bad. But then North Carolina and Clemson. But
that one is on November 11th.
Yeah, the 11-11 game for Florida State. So I will be looking forward to seeing Florida State against Miami, but I think as of right now, they should have a pretty, not easy, but not too stressful stretch of games. And I think that they've gotten out of the stress. They have had 2 close games, but maybe that will be your thorn, and I will hand it over to you to say what the thorn is for this final team in the top 5.
Oh, man. Okay. I think Florida State's thorn is certainly not their offense, because the connection between Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman is legit, and it's fantastic. I'm going to say, man, okay, this is a good one. This is tough. Give me I need to
think.
I got to think, but I also got to go fast because we only got I got to cook. Like, hold up. Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. I'm going to go with, I don't know. So the thing, I want to talk about the defense a little bit, because they gave up a lot to LSU and to Clemson, who I'm honestly not even sure if Clemson is that good. And I'm not even sure if LSU is that good. Like, yes, Jaden Daniels is capable of making plays with his arm and his legs. I don't really know how fundamentally good those teams are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the defense is maybe a thorn, like a little tiny thorn, something to just kind of keep an eye out on. I don't think they can really get away with giving up 25 or 30 points to these 2 conference opponents and expect to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's you can't expect to give up that many points and consistently win games, because I don't think you can bet on your offense to keep up every game. They gave up 29 to Boston College, and Boston College is that, or whatever. They beat Southern Miss 66-13.
They've been hanging on by a thread. Florida State. I really thought they were going to lose
24 to LSU, which is that's whatever.
Yeah. And I really thought they were going to lose that Clemson game. If I'm being honest, I mean, I thought for
Clemson had control of that game at various points. I don't know if it was for a prolonged stretch, but it kind of teetered back and forth. You know what I'm saying? But I think the defense is a thorn, something to watch out for. You can't keep giving up this amount of like high point amounts.
Yeah.
You can't keep giving up like 20, 24, 29 points. You can't give up 29 points to a team like Boston College and expect to win consistently.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. So that's my thorn for Florida State.
So that's our roses and thorns for the first 5 teams at week 5. I think maybe what would be fun to do is come week 10 maybe, like we do another check-in and say what are roses and thorns, and then before the playoffs we can do it. So
for sure.
I'm really interested to see how if they will be the same, or if some of those thorns could become roses, some of those roses might become thorns. Mm-hmm. So it'll be exciting to see how that pans out a few weeks down the road, see how these teams kind of form up. Now, I think if you want to, I think maybe we can hold off NFL, do some NFL next week, and we can do best thing I saw. You want to explain that?
Let's end with a new segment we've got. Best thing I saw this past weekend, because we haven't talked about. Thank you. We haven't talked about this past weekend basically at all.
No,
until now.
You can do, I think
so. Let's go. Let's do that just real quick. We got about another couple minutes.
So, Joe.
Yes.
What is the best thing you've seen all week?
I am flipping between, of course. I think. Oh man, this is okay.
The Bears won yesterday.
The Bears did, but Justin Fields threw 4 touchdowns. DJ Moore had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I'm between that game, Caleb Williams against Colorado, and the Twins snapping their postseason losing streak. You know what? I'm going to go with the Twins. I'm going to go with the Twins.
I think that's a very
I'm going to go with the
pick.
Twins. The best thing I saw this past weekend, whatever, is the Twins finally winning a playoff series, snapping their 18-game-long postseason drought, their losing streak, which is incredible. I mean,
that was electric.
Target Field went ballistic
on a Tuesday,
as they should have.
On a Tuesday afternoon. You know, and you go over and you go to Tampa Bay, and they couldn't even sell out the stadium. They're the lowest attendance.
I think that's one of the reasons they lost, but that's a story for another time.
I mean, shout out Minnesota; they deserved it. I feel like going through that as a Detroit sports fan who now has the Pistons now have the Pistons own the longest active streak of playoff losses. I feel their pain. You know, the Lions haven't won a playoff game since the '90s, and that was the only playoff game we won.
This year.
That might change this year, but. Shout out Minnesota. That is a great thing.
Shout out Minnesota. Fantastic. And I as a fan will be rooting for you guys against the Astros.
Yes.
Quinn, moving over to you. What was the best thing you saw this past week?
I'm actually going to go to something that we have not talked much about.
Oh.
And I am going to talk about Premier League.
Whoa!
Soccer.
Okay,
yeah,
let's do that.
Right. So over the weekend, I went with I went with Cooper to a Premier League watch party thing. And it was for Cooper's team is Tottenham, obviously. Our friend Cooper, big Tottenham fan.
Loves does Harry Kane play?
Harry Kane is no longer. He moved to Bayern Munich. They had to sell him because I went and it was the Liverpool versus Tottenham game. It was a huge game with Manchester City losing earlier in the week. It was a big game to see
stakes, very high stakes.
Who was going to take that second position? Liverpool would have been in first if they got the win. The game was tied for most of the game. Then Liverpool had 2 red cards after the 69th minute. They got their second red card, which means, for those who don't know soccer, they had only 9 players.
Yeah.
So they had 9 on 11, and Tottenham had a ton of chances that they couldn't find a score.
I mean, how do you not? You're playing 11 on 9,
yeah,
bro.
How do you not have chances? But in the 96th minute, Tottenham has a good cross, and it ends up it was an own goal by Liverpool.
Finally.
An own goal by Liverpool.
Screwing up. Giving Spurs
giving Tottenham
win.
Their win, and it was very, very exciting for all of us. That was very fun. Another honorary mention for best thing I saw is Newcastle played their first Champions League home game in over 20 years. And Newcastle has some of the greatest home fans that you'll ever see.
How did that game go?
They ended up winning. They won 4-1 against Paris Saint-Germain, which is Mbappe's team. So it was a very good, very, very, very good performance there. And just seeing sports fans be sports fans, like you mentioned in Minnesota, with Newcastle in I guess Newcastle. It's just seeing sports fans be sports fan is something that doesn't get old, and nothing beats a passionate sports atmosphere.
No, nothing at all.
That's the beauty of sports, Joe.
That is the beauty of sports. So that's going to be It's going to be about our show.
It's our show
for this week.
This is a good show.
Yeah, it was. I was very happy.
Yeah,
very happy with what we talked about, how it went, how we did all that. This one will be up on Spotify and YouTube shortly.
YouTube, yeah. YouTube. Week 4 is already up, so make sure you check out week 1, 2, 3,
and
4, and now 5.
We will have the YouTube link on the social
YouTube link
media
will be up. Yeah,
soon. So stay tuned for that. I mean, beyond that,
it's been real.
It's been very
covered
real.
a lot of good content here.
Yeah, covered a lot of good content. That's Quinn Richards.
I'm Quinn.
I'm Joe Elms.
He's Joe.
And stay tuned. We'll see you soon for episode number 5. Yeah, we can't keep track of numbers.
Is it 5?
No,
it's 6.
It's 5 or 6.
This is episode 5.
This is 5. This is 5. 5 is a wrap. Stay tuned for 6. We'll see you soon.